The Hungaro Ring in Budapest. Just like on normal roads, there are corners and straights here. The surface is the same too, tarmac. However, driving here is nothing like driving in normal traffic. Here, one foot has to control two pedals at the same time, so that the car doesn't skid. This man is starting from the beginning again. Chris Bauer, racetrack novice. I'm quite nervous, but I'm also looking forward to it a lot. Today will be my second time on the racetrack. We have two cars here which I can drive and want to drive. Both have problems. One has wet weather tires. We're still waiting for new slicks to be delivered. The other has just been built, brand new, and the engine still has to be adjusted. Today is for getting to know the track, and tomorrow things start properly. Driving on a racetrack is like playing an instrument. It depends on a precise rhythm of throttle, gear changes, braking and steering. A symphony in racing major. Chris has two Porsches available, the legendary RSR, a jewel from 1974, and a relatively new racing machine, a Cup version GT3. Aside from that, Chris is also getting tips from a professional, long-distance specialist, Sascha Maassen. So, Chris, the GT3 is a modern car, so it isn't bad for getting to know the track. Remember that we only have wet weather tires here, but that's not so bad. The weather's chilly. They should work fine for a fair while. But if you notice that the tires are getting too warm, then come in and we'll stop.
Müsste also eine Zeit lang gehen, aber ich weiß nicht wie lange. Sobald du merkst, dass die Reifen zu warm werden, komm rein, dann brechen wir ab.
Race driving isn't just about putting your foot down after all. Double clutching is actually much more important. When changing down, a short tap on the gas pedal will prevent the tail from swerving. If you were to change down and at that moment just let the clutch come up, the engine would start to brake due to the difference in revs, and that would make the car quite uneven. So at every gear change, you have to increase the revs so that the process of changing gear can't be felt. The most important thing is the timing. Gas when you bring the clutch up, not after. Otherwise, it won't do anything.
Das eigentlich das Timing. Immer dann das Zwischengas geben, wenn du die Kupplung kommen lässt. Danach bringt's nichts mehr.
Enough theory. Now Chris is off to the racetrack. The 18-year-old wants to participate in the Classic Endurance Racing this year, an exquisite vintage racing series in which only long-distance race cars built between 1966 and 1979 can take part. Chris's 480 horsepower Porsche GT3 is too recent for this racing series, but it's a great training car. It's no accident that the racetrack novice is driving his first laps without his instructor. I think it's important that he finds the limits himself without me showing him, because if I show him and he can't properly implement it, then we could have a very swift end to our test. Now he's still trying to figure it out, but that's exactly the reason. If I was sitting next to him, he would feel stupid. That's a very normal phase.
Genau der Grund, wenn ich jetzt daneben sitzen würde, würde sich nämlich dann blöd vorkommen. Aber das ist eine ganz normale Phase.
Chris has to learn to trust himself, the mental foundation of any race driver. From lap to lap, the 18-year-old gets faster and carefully approaches the limits of his Porsche. In Budapest, the drivers of the Classic Endurance come together for their first training session. They give their priceless one-of-a-kind cars a good run for their money. This Porsche GT1 has been driven by Paul Newman. This car took part in Le Mans in 1997. It's a Porsche 993 GT1, a car that was only built 17 times. This was a car that was in private use, with a great racing history. It drove in the FIA GT, in the British GT. It's wonderfully set up and is going back on the track now for the first time since its refurbishment.
wieder auf die Strecke gegangen ist. Hier haben wir jetzt
This is a De Tomaso Mangusta, a very rare car. This has been prepared for historic motorsport and should race in the Classic Endurance this year, so it's a very nice, interesting car. A Ford V8 engine, an awful lot of power, it's a lot of fun.
Sehr viel Power, macht viel Spaß.
Here we have a Porsche 914 six-cylinder as a GT version, a very rare car. It's from the end of the 60s, driven a lot at the start of the 70s, and was very successful, driven in Le Mans, so a very interesting car. Back to Chris. Lesson number 1, double clutching. A tap on the gas pedal when changing down is supposed to make the gear changes as smooth as possible. Until the composition of braking, steering, double clutching and changing down is harmonized, Chris has to practice diligently. Wood allows the heel to reach the gas pedal more easily. The braking point itself is actually not as crucial as the timing of the whole brake application. He has to make sure that he controls 3 pedals at once with 2 feet. That's the problem. Particularly for beginners like Chris. The theory doesn't actually sound so difficult. With 1 foot, when you come towards a turn, you have to brake and accelerate at the same time. The feeling isn't easy because you're doing 2 things at once with 1 foot. You have to keep the braking force stable with the tip of your foot on the brake and tap the gas with your heel. Finally, the slicks are here, but unfortunately the rims are too wide. But what doesn't fit is made to fit, no matter how much it costs. Yes, we've been sent wider wheels to be able to carry on testing here. That means we have to adjust the bodywork so that we can fit them on and cope with the wheels. Now Chris can finally put his foot down. Trainer Sascha Maaßen is on board this time to have a close look at the novice. Chris wants to make it to the podium at the first Classic Endurance race with his Porsche RSR, but the competition is tough and a classic race car at its limit is a diva. A quick critique. This double clutching isn't coming easily yet. You have to give a tap on the gas, not when you change gear, but when you come off the clutch. That's crucial. And you're tapping the gas, you're selecting the gear and then tapping the gas, but still staying on the clutch. And then you notice and tap it again when you let the clutch go. A racing Porsche is like a musical instrument and the 18-year-old is just learning to play it. Chris deals with the subject of double clutching in a rather lazy way, but teacher Sascha remains persistent. What I'm noticing already is that you're already trying to avoid changing up. At the end of the straights, you should be in 5th, but you're going in 4th up to the rev limit, and then you ease up on the gas and wait. You should actually change up into 5th. And after the first corner, you should actually change up into 4th. If the 3rd gear is revved out, you just let it coast. The only thing for it is practice, practice, practice. At the Hungaroring today, conditions are at their best. It's dry and the tires quickly warm up. Gradually, Chris gets faster and faster in the corners. The 18-year-old doesn't have much more time to practice. The first Classic Endurance race of the season in Barcelona is looming. So, 2 days on the track, a dress rehearsal for Barcelona for your first race. I think you can really be very happy. You've improved a lot. You've got your main problems well in hand, double clutching when changing down. I'm going on about it so much because you'll really be very pleased when that finally clicks. Your racing colleagues didn't learn that in 2 days either. They had to struggle a bit longer too. Barcelona is a new track, so whether I'll hit the line again there is another matter. I'll definitely try to give my best. I'm super motivated and I'm looking forward to it enormously. A happy newcomer